today. Superintendent Byrd is in Tallahassee.
This morning is the 2017-2018 internal funds.
If there's anything here, you certainly feel free to contact me if there's any questions you have. I'm trying to just hit the highlights. No consultations with other policy. Page 8 is where we go into our journal entries, and so as I mentioned before, you can see on the bottom part of the page the 3 adjusting journal entries we had. And so I want to kind of step back just a little bit for those of you that may not know the history, but a few years ago the school district had started using a new software called, because the numbers were not materially stated, and it took a lot. There was something broken in the internal controls there. And so then in year 2, for those receivables to be written off. And so that's why I had these, we broke them out into 3 journal entries. It could have been one big journal.
For the next item we have on the agenda, we want to kind of bring before you a request, and it's kind of an informational item where we're asking to make a request to.
In the regular course, but they would look at also having some project-based.
I noticed there are other school districts that's also doing this. What kind of success have they had?
They're not doing it. What we've done is I've met with them, we've worked together.
What we're finding is that in efficiency-wise, we're doing well, but in service-wise, we're doing poorly. And we're not getting students to school on time, so that they have an opportunity to eat breakfast. Given state statute 1006.23, hazardous walking conditions, because the traffic count is nowhere near where it would qualify for state funding. Everything that we do is costing the district. I don't know if it's. I don't say it's costing the district money. It's we're providing services to those that aren't eligible for that service, and in turn, our resources are stretched.
A sheet that we're doing or have done that can answer some of the questions that we have.
We do, and we also every year we send out the state board rule information on students that ride the bus, and then we also send out a "Are we there yet?" Transportation manual. It's a brochure that provides those parents that are not eligible for transportation resources on where they can find help to get their child to and from school safely.
Just don't think that we did a good job of that, in my opinion, and we've got to make sure that people understand that.
And we are attempting to, in communications with the county manager's office, to put this on a committee that is currently created, either the sidewalk committee or the crossing guard committee, that are made up of community members as well as staff members from the school district, from the Board of County Commissioners, from the Sheriff's Department, and bring these case by case.
And talk about opportunities to transport our students like they do in other districts.
We have in the past. We currently have a contract with them that we have renewed for several years that provides transportation for high school students, that if they can get to a transit stop, they use that, and we will continue that, those communications.
And speaking to public transit, there's so much more that they could do, including running our first routes, which is not stopping at those stops that they already have set, like working with us, collaborating with us to transport our students. And that conversation has not happened as far as what I'm being told. So maybe we need to expand that conversation.
A date certain when there are regular meetings that begin to start where ideas are hashed out.
Maybe I can add a little to this. And we have been talking about this for some time now. It's not a new conversation, but I do think there's a certain amount of frustration.
Communications right from the start.
And add to that the miles that we drive. I think that is stunning. If that doesn't get somebody's attention, they're just not paying attention. Ms. Fields?
This will be my last comment on this subject, but Jason does an excellent job sharing that information. And I know you have that, because you shared with me. So I think you need to make sure that the board understands that you, when you do your presentation, you share a lot of that data, and that data can be provided to the community as a whole so they can understand it.
Yes, ma'am, we'll work together to provide a fact sheet that's clear, simple, and breaks down the points of why.
Surplus fleet and see how many are available and how many the needs are. But we have a certain number, and I'm not sure how many of those are lift buses, but so in some instances we may not have enough lift buses for them, but we'll help them, we'll guide them where they could get a lift bus, from a vendor if we don't have it.
We just need to be very, I mean, we're talking about medically fragile, so I just think people need to be aware of that.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that in our conversations, you're very thoughtful, very compassionate, understanding about working with those specific issues and making sure that we've given lengthy notice, plenty of notice, so that we can come alongside them and support them in the transition.
Any other comments about busing? We'll get here? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hill. Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Hi, Mr. Davis. Not there, but just.
In new business, before we get to board comments, apparently Mrs. Sellers was serving on the Polk Academy's advisory board. She's been doing so for some time. And they've respectfully requested that.
Or I'm looking at what other districts have done. We have in the past brought in a consultant to show us how to bill Medicaid and specific issues. I think we need to bring in a consultant. A broader.
We've entered into a discussion on doing that, Ms. Miller. We'll be bringing some of that information to the board, where we can bring somebody in. We're already looking at that piece, so we'll be glad to bring that to you as soon as the superintendent gets out all that really shored up. Just where we can get, like you said, an outside eye to look at from top to bottom what we got going on and ways that we can continue to grow and improve our services. So I'm thinking probably within the next 45 days that should come to a little more granular detail where we can do that, and we appreciate that feedback on it, and we'll be doing that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think that was definitely something that's
And what services that we have for our students. So anytime we're in this situation where we're continuing to try to improve, and I think that's what we're all about, is improving services for all students, then it behooves us to take a step back and say, hey, look, let's get out of the weeds with this deal and have somebody come in from the outside and really give us some feedback on this. Maybe there are some areas that we can strategically continue to improve, so as we continue to look at that. So the point, we'll be able to bring those recommendations to you, but also bring a contract, like I said, with probably about 45 days, we should be able to get that to you. Our goal is, what the superintendent has asked is, our goal is by the time this is complete, before the school year is complete, and then we would have the strategic steps during the summer actually mapped out to roll in for next school year. Yes, ma'am.
And I was around for the community push for that about 12 years ago, and it was done, and we've had so much policy change and state changes, but also some of that stuff still was not implemented with fidelity just because it was so grand.
My first and foremost concern is at each individual school site. I just have felt that 21 social workers for our county is irresponsible. I feel like we need a social worker at every single school, and I don't know how to do that, and I know you're gonna say we don't have the money and all this other stuff, but I want that as a goal, and also as the mental health professional in each school. Because unless you've been at a school like Stanball, and you see what goes on in those hallways, you might change your mind as to what we hire here in the district office versus what we have boots on the ground. So I want to put that out there, and I know that in our training over in Tampa for new school board members, it talked about staying in your lane. That was the name of the PowerPoint that we were introduced to. And I don't know what lane I'm in, but I am in the lane for kids and students and parents and teachers, and I feel like a social worker at each school is imperative. somebody that we, you know, back in the day, I keep talking about that, we had truant officers just for our school, and they went out and checked on our kids. You know, I think we could alleviate a lot of problems. And second concern, obviously, is the shortage of instructors that are qualified and substitutes to, you know, that want to come to your school. I spoke with Mr. Hill earlier about this code of conduct. You know, and we talked about it a little bit. The first 4 steps for tardies are the same as vaping, tobacco, everything else. This is one of the reasons I think we can't keep people, because nothing happens to these folks, like in their classrooms. You know, just like the hard corners, that was not communicated. I know I went to a training or there at Bill Duncan, the operation of the fire alarm. That was not part of what they talked about. It's not even in their notes, the hard corners. So when teachers reach out to me, I have no idea what they're talking about because I wasn't told. You know, it makes us not look real bright, to be honest. So, you know, all of these things add up to, I think we need to look at an advisory board made up of real teachers, real students that, you know, have real solutions. And I'd be glad to head that up. I don't know how it operates. I don't know what needs to happen if I'm out of my lane.